Y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Taya and this is Taya's Turning Pages. So today we'll be discussing all of the books that I read in January, and to be honest y'all, I did not read as many books as I normally do, and that's because I read Twilight in the very beginning of the month. That book is like 400 plus pages, almost 500, so I definitely think that I got a little bit burnt out throughout the month, and that's usually why I don't start out my reading month with a longer book, because I tend to find myself burning out quicker. But it's February, we're back on track now, totally fine. So if you guys have been following my channel for a while, then you know I have to wake up mad early to film videos because my apartment complex is so loud. 7 a.m. is like the only time I can actually film, and so naturally I'm always tired, but not today. And I have Xavy, who is the sponsor of this portion of today's video, to thank for that. All right y'all, so I'm getting ready to make my cup of coffee, but before we get into that, I did just want to tell you a little bit more about Xavy. Xavy has crafted their own cold brew concentrate, which is essentially just a highly condensed cold brew coffee. This can actually be used for iced and hot coffee. So for all of my hot coffee stands, don't worry, Xavy still has you covered. I just decided to switch it up this morning and make an iced coffee. But as you can see, they sent me their original flavor, and they do have other flavors to choose from, which I'll get into later. Also, a booklet and instructions do come with your order, and the booklet goes into detail about how Xavy is ethically and sustainably sourced, as well as dairy-free, sugar-free, plant-powered, and non-GMO. They also included some fun recipes in the back that you can try out, which I thought was a cute touch, especially the boozy section, because I did not know you can make that many recipes with lick and coffee. And so when it comes to making a cup of Xavy coffee, it only takes 3 steps. So first, you fill your cup with water or milk. As you can see, I chose almond milk because duh, the superior milk. And then second, you drop 1 or 2 teaspoons of Xavy in the cup. And I know that might not look or sound like a lot, y'all, but it is. Their bottles are 30 servings, and so a little really does go a long way. And then third and finally, you add your favorite creamer or flavoring. I really appreciated how simple this was because some mornings you just don't feel like doing all of that, you know? There's just some mornings where I don't feel like getting out the machine and just making a cup of coffee, so the fact that this is only 3 simple steps, love that for me, love that for us. After that, you just stir and then you have your coffee. As you guys can see, I made my iced coffee here, and now we're actually going to taste it to see if Xavy is worth the hype. Let me take another sip, hold on. This is actually really good, and I'm so glad that I decided to pour almond milk. Like I said, it tastes good, it's smooth. I'm always looking for different coffees to try out and just other different ways that I can make my iced coffee taste better at home. That way, if I don't have time to stop at a Starbucks or stop at a Dunkin' or just make my own coffee using my Nespresso, I love the fact that Xavy provides that ease where I can just make this in 3 easy steps. So as you saw, I didn't have to use any equipment. The only thing that I really needed was those little measuring spoons. Honestly, that's so clutch because one thing about me, I love convenience. So the fact that Xavy can make your coffee routine as simple as 1, 2, 3 is a win in my book. So besides the original, they also have mocha, they have French vanilla, they have caramel, and they have decaf, limited edition flavors. I just wanted to thank Xavy again for sending this my way. I love trying new coffees of all kinds, and I'm also really grateful and happy that they shared a discount code with me, so that way you guys can get 20% off your first purchase with Xavy. I will leave all of this information as well as my code in the description box down below, so make sure you check that out. Definitely let me know if you guys plan on checking out Xavy and what flavors you're interested in or what flavors you plan on getting. I would love to know. Like I said earlier, the link to visit Xavy's website as well as my code will be in my description box down below. Thank you so much again to Xavy for sponsoring this portion of today's video, and also thanks so much to you guys for rocking with me, for supporting me. Your support never goes unnoticed, and I love y'all deep. I really do. So thank you again so much. Okay, so like we do every month, we're going to start out with the lowest rated books and then work our way up to the highest rated books of the month. And the lowest rated book that I have here that is sitting at a 2-star, yes y'all, a 2-star, is The Goal by Elle Kennedy. So I actually read this book back in December, and I'm just now getting around to including it in a wrap-up because I was originally going to include it in my December wrap-up, but somehow my clips got corrupted. I don't know, and so I lost all of that footage. And I meant to film this in a recent reads video and it just never happened. But we're here now. We're going to talk about The Goal and why I did not like this, like at all. So I'm actually just going to read the synopsis for this book. I don't even care enough to put it in my own words. Like, that's how much this book irritated me and rubbed me the wrong way. This is the 4th and final book in the original off-campus series lineup. So the first book is The Deal, the second book is The Mistake, the third book is The Score, and then the 4th book is The Goal. There is a 5th book that Elle Kennedy published not too long ago, and it's called The Legacy, and it's basically a aka Where Are They Now / bonus epilogue of the characters' lives after graduating from Briar University. And so going back to the goal, right here the synopsis says, she's good at achieving her goals, but the game just got a whole lot more complicated. College senior Sabrina James has her whole future planned out. Graduate from college, kick butt in law school, and land a high-paying job at a cutthroat firm. Her path to escaping her shameful past certainly doesn't include a gorgeous hockey player who believes in love at first sight. One night of sizzling heat and surprising tenderness is all she's willing to give John Tucker, but sometimes one night is all it takes for your entire life to change. Tucker believes being a team player is as important as being the star. On the ice, he's fine staying out of the spotlight, but when it comes to becoming a daddy at the age of 22, he refuses to be a bench warmer. It doesn't hurt that the soon-to-be mother of his child is beautiful, whip smart, and keeps him on his toes. The problem is, Sabrina's heart is locked up tight, and the fiery brunette is too stubborn to accept his help. If he wants a life with the woman of his dreams, he has to convince her that some goals can only be made with an assist. So that is the synopsis, and as you can hear, that is definitely very different than the other books in the series, which is part of the reason why I did not like this book. The one thing that I will say that I did like is the fact that Sabrina was so ambitious and so determined and headstrong. I always love a good, strong, independent female character who knows what she wants, who knows her own mind. So I really like the fact that Sabrina had that passion and that fire in her when it came to her career and just wanting a good life. So I stand in that regard. And then Tucker's character, I really did love Tucker. I thought he was one of the best book boyfriends that I have ever read about, especially in the off-campus series, because I'm not gonna lie to y'all, there's not a lot of redeeming men in the off-campus series. I know the girlies go feral over all of the different characters, but to be honest, only one that I really cared for was John Logan. I'm sorry, like John Logan and the Mistake Supremacy, like I loved that book so much. That is my favorite book out of the series, and to me that's the clear magnum opus of the off-campus series. I said what I said, and I know the Garrett Graham stans are probably gonna come for me and be like, girl, what about Garrett, da, 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 da. And like I thought he was very funny and very charming, but there were moments where Garrett was just not the most likable. I don't want to get into all of that. He had his moments, but John Logan and the Mistake, yeah, that's it right there. That's it. That is Elle Kennedy's bread and butter right there. She needs to do more second chance romances, if anything. But going back to the book in question here, the goal, other than a few character traits of Sabrina and Tucker, I did not like the story. I did not like the plot. I also did not like the writing. I have seen fans of the off-campus series say that they noticed a decline in the writing and just the overall storytelling as you progress throughout the off-campus series, and I couldn't agree more. I just felt like once we got to the score, everything went downhill in my opinion. I hated the score too. I think I gave that like a 2 or a 3 out of 5 stars, and then obviously the goal I gave a 2 stars. So it's a shame that I only really liked one book out of the entire series. Again, the deal was okay, but it was only one character that saved it for me, and even he had his issues. So to be honest, it was only one book that I liked out of the entire series.
And I'm a little irritated.
I spent my time reading this entire series because everybody was hyping it up, saying, oh my god, it's so good, it's so good. And then when I actually finished it, I realized that I wasted so much of my time reading this series. Will I read a Legacy? The jury's still out on that one.
Girl.
I feel like I probably will, just again to round out the entire series, but I'm really not looking forward to it because I've heard not so great reviews about that book too. We're going to get into the books that I rated 4 or 4.5 stars, and then we'll get into my 5-star book of the month. So the first mid-tier book that I have here, which is sitting at a 4-star, is Twilight by Stephanie Meyer. So I'm not going to get into my full thoughts about this book because I filmed an entire reading vlog on this, so I will leave that linked up above in the cards somewhere. Even though this burnt me out, I still had a great time reading this, so I definitely will be continuing on with the series. The next book in the series is called New Moon, so I'm not sure when I'm going to get to that. That might be a March TBR read, I'm not 100% sure, but I don't want to drag out this series for too long because I have other books that I have to get to, so yeah. The next 4-star book that I have here is Snowflake by Nia Forrester. So I've talked about this book in so many of my recent videos. I am still going to give a synopsis and give you my thoughts on this book. This story follows 2 Black college students who attend Penn State. One of their names is Asha and the other one's name is Cal. So starting with Cal, Cal is an athlete. He is on the track team and he is training to become an Olympic athlete one day. But Cal is also a ladies man. He is a player, and on the flip side of that, you have his love interest named Asha, and Asha is very quiet, very shy, and to herself and very reserved. And so Asha's never really on campus like that. She doesn't really interact with the other students. She goes to class and then she comes back home and that's it. But Cal and Asha are actually neighbors and they do live right across the hall from one another, so they do see each other in passing and from time to time. And Cal has always wondered about Asha and wondered why she's never on campus and why she doesn't really like hang out with anybody else. And Asha has always wondered about Cal. She's always found him attractive, but she steers clear of him because he is a ladies man. Winter break quickly approaches and these two decide to stay on campus instead of going home for different reasons, but they are the only ones in their apartment complex and the power actually ends up getting knocked worked out. And so Cal and Asha are the only ones, like I said, in this apartment complex. So they decide to essentially meet up because there's really nothing else to do with the power being out. And one thing leads to another, and the story takes off from there. This is actually my first Nia Forrester novel, and it won't be my last. I really enjoyed this story, and I really loved learning more about Asha and Cal individually, but also collectively. It was really interesting to peel back the layers of both of them because they both have a lot of things going on in their personal lives that the other one does not know about yet. So getting to understand why these two react the way that they react and act the way that they act, it just made me want to root for them even more, because I knew that once they were able to talk about their feelings and work through their issues, that they would be a well-suited couple. And I just ate this story up. I really liked Asha's character, and I liked the fact that throughout the story she was starting to find her voice and speak up more. I love when I'm reading a story and there's a character who's very shy and like very reserved and very timid, and they don't really like to confront people, but as the story progresses they start to find, like I said, their voice, and they start to speak up and stand up for themselves. I love that trope so much. And then I also really liked Cal's character too. Even though he was a playboy and he had his moments when he was very messy, I still like the fact that he was trying his hardest to be a good man for Asha, but also trying to show her that she can be safe with him, that she can be vulnerable with him. And I really like that, because like I said, he started out the story as not the most likable because he was a playboy, but as the story progresses, you start to see that he really is trying to change his ways because he is so smitten by Asha. And I just thought that was so cute. That's another trope that I love. I love when the playboy has his world turned upside down by one girl and he starts to change his ways. And I also mentioned this in my other videos, but I can't get over the fact that this book takes place at Penn State, because for those of you who do not know, I did attend Penn State. So to read about the little references and picking up on certain nuances that other people wouldn't be able to pick up on because they didn't go there, it's just so much fun to like be able to like read that, and to also see myself kind of reflected in the story, because both Cal and Asha are Black and they both attend Penn State. And so it was just really fun to be able to like find those little Easter eggs throughout the story and be like, oh my gosh, I remember when I used to go there, I remember when me and my friends used to hang out there and study, etc, etc. So yeah, all in all, I really enjoyed the story, and I definitely can't wait to pick up more by Nia Forrester. The next 4-star book that I have here is All Good People Here by Ashley Flowers. I'm actually just going to read the synopsis for this book because I don't want to spoil anything, because so much is going on with this plot that it's very easy to do so. So right here in the flap it says, you can't ever know for sure what happens behind closed doors. Everyone from Wakarusa, Indiana remembers the infamous case of January Jacobs, who was discovered in a ditch hours after her family awoke to find her gone. Margot Davies was 6 at the time, the same age as January, and they were next door neighbors. In the 20 years since, Margot has grown up, moved away, and became a big city journalist. But she's always been haunted by the feeling that it could have been her. And the worst part is, January's killer has never been brought to justice. When Margot returns home to help care for her uncle after he is diagnosed with early onset dementia, she feels like she's walked into a time capsule. Wakarusa is exactly how she remembers. Genial, stifled, secretive. Then, news breaks about 5-year-old Natalie Clark from the next town over, who's gone missing under circumstances eerily similar to January's. With all the old feelings rushing back, Margot vows to find Natalie and to solve January's murder once and for all. As you can hear by that synopsis, this is I feel like standard typical thriller. So before we get into the things that I'm still unsure about and the things that I didn't like, I did want to at least talk about the things that I did like. I love reading thrillers that are set in an idyllic, small, suburban or like rural town, mainly because that is so far removed from my experience. So to be able to read about that in a book and to see how people operate in like smaller towns where everyone knows everyone is just so fascinating to me. I just always find it so intriguing when people know everyone in their neighborhood or people know everyone in their school, because it's that small and tight knit. I feel like I could personally never live in an environment like that, because I don't like people in my business like that and in that regard, but I do like reading about it because like I said, it's just so entertaining to see this person knowing this person's secret, or this person knowing what that person got up to on a Tuesday night. Like I just think that is so funny. But I really did like the small town aspect of this. Ashley Flowers played into the whole, like, again, idyllic, small, tight-knit community, 1950s, Americana, traditional, Leave It to Beaver, Honey I'm Home type of vibe. Like that's exactly what this book was giving. It was giving very much like one of those 1950s sitcoms with the nuclear family, the mother, the father, the daughter, and the son, white picket fence, we're good Christian people, we go to church every Sunday. You know, it was giving very much that. And I just think that all of that worked so well in this book, and I couldn't wait to learn more about the town and the town's secrets and what everybody was hiding. It seemed like everybody had something to lose here. I thought that the writing was very ominous. I thought it was very unsettling, very fast-paced and heart-pumping, and I kept finding myself wanting to dive deeper and deeper into the story. And once I was hooked, I was hooked. I could not put this book down when I got into like the final stretch, because there was just so much going on and Margot was getting closer and closer to the truth. And I was genuinely on the edge of my seat, you guys. I was like, oh my goodness, how is the story all going to end. So I just loved all of those elements, and I thought it was a solid thriller, especially for this to be a debut and for this to be a debut of a true crime podcaster. I thought Ashley Flowers did a pretty good job. The main thing that I'm still on the fence about is that the case in here that involves January Jacobs is loosely inspired by the JonBenet Ramsey case, and I'm not going to get into the full details of the JonBenet Ramsey case. I definitely recommend just looking it up if you have not heard of it or if you're not familiar with it. It's one of those that is just so mind-boggling, and it's still unsolved to this day. It's been like 20 plus years and we're still no closer to finding out what actually happened to JonBenet and who murdered her. So I'm still on the fence about that, just because even though it's not 100% a copy and paste of what happened to JonBenet happened to January, but there are a lot of glaring similarities. JonBenet was a real person, a real child that went through something that no child should ever have to go through, and to use her likeness or like the likeness of the case to help guide you in writing a thriller, I don't know, y'all. It's still a little bit of a sticky situation, a slippery slope for me personally. And so that's really like the main thing that is keeping me from giving this a full 5-star or a 4.5, because I just don't know how I feel about it. And the last thing that prevented this from getting a higher rating is the ambiguity and the vagueness surrounding the ending. I'm obviously not going to get into what happened and what went down, but I just don't understand why we went in the direction that we went in when it came to the ending. And I read online to see if there was going to be a sequel or if there's going to be an epilogue or a bonus epilogue, and Ashley Flowers has said that she has no plans on doing either of those things, which is very frustrating because, like I said, there's a lot of ambiguity when it comes to the ending. And I understand that this is her book, she can do what she wants, but I would have liked it if she would have just gave us a little bit more. Sometimes ambiguous endings work for me and then other times they don't, and in this book, when I thought about it more, it just did not work for me. I still thought that this was a solid thriller. So like I said, it's getting a 4-star for me. I'm also interested to see if Ashley Flowers is going to publish more thrillers now that she kind of has her footing. I'm curious to see if she's really going to lean more into being an author. Of course, I still want her to host the Crime Junkies podcast, but I would pick up another thriller written by her. All right, y'all, now we are moving on to the highest rated books of the month, and these two books are both sitting at a 5-star. So the first book that I'm going to discuss is I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. So I feel like this is the most popular memoir ever and I was the last person on earth to read it, but no more, because I finally read it in January and I really enjoyed it, as you can tell by this rating. So this is a memoir written by Jeanette McCurdy, and for those of you who do not know, Jeanette McCurdy is a former child actress. She most notably got her start on Nickelodeon, originally I think in Zoe 101 as a guest star, and then she ended up getting the role as Sam Puckett on iCarly, and then reprised that role in the Nickelodeon show called Sam and Cat starring Ariana Grande. In this memoir, Jeanette really goes in depth about her upbringing and her life and what life was like for her growing up as a child actress. Jeanette and her mother had a very toxic and tumultuous mother-daughter relationship, and like I said, Jeanette goes into extensive detail about the things in which her mother subjected her to, but also certain things that she endured as a direct impact of her relationship with her mother. And I don't want to get into all of that because I feel like with memoirs, but this one in particular, this is one that you should just pick up and read, because the whole point of a memoir is for someone to tell you their life story. I just think that this book is too important to not read if you are interested in memoirs. Like I said, I rated this a 5 out of 5 stars, and I did listen to this via audiobook, and I definitely recommend going that route versus reading it physically, because Jeanette narrates the audiobook herself, and the way in which she narrates this memoir I think is what really sold it for so many people. It really showed just how much of a fantastic writer she truly is. You can tell that this is her passion and she cares about her craft, and I really love the way in which she narrated this, because it was so monotone, so deadpan, and so just matter-of-factly that it hit harder. The things that she was talking about within the memoir, especially the real dark periods of her life, but also the conversations that she would even have with her mother, the way that she would narrate them in such a monotone, deadpan, matter-of-fact way was brilliant. And like I said, it just hit harder for some reason. To me, it didn't feel like she was trying to be funny. It just came off that way because of the way she told the story, if that makes sense. I feel like I'm rambling, but I need you guys to understand just how fantastic the audiobook is. The last thing that I will say is that I'm really glad that Jeanette was able to write this memoir and be able to share it with the world, because she definitely sparked so many different conversations when it comes to child actors, when it comes to stage moms, but also just mother-daughter relationships in general and how complex and layered they are. This memoir reiterated to the reader that sometimes your mother can be your biggest op, okay? They can be your biggest op, they can be your biggest enemy, they can be your first enemy. And so it was just so interesting, but also heartbreaking to read about her experiences growing up the way that she did. And there were so many things about her that I just did not know. I was a huge huge fan of iCarly, and I did watch Sam and Cat from time to time, and so I never really understood why she stepped back from the industry, but learning everything that I learned through that memoir, it all makes total sense, and I'll never look at iCarly in particular the same way again, which I know a lot of people have said that. It's one of those things now where it's like, it's gonna leave a sour taste in my mouth, you know, which is unfortunate because that was one of the shows that I grew up on. But at the same time, to know that Jeanette was suffering throughout that entire show is just so messed up. It's so messed up. So I really hope that she is continuing to heal. The last book that I have here that is also sitting at a 5-star is The Kingmaker by Kennedy Ryan. So of course, you guys already knew that this is probably going to be a 5-star read because I love anything that Kennedy Ryan writes. Hello. The story follows two characters named Lennox and Maxim. Lennox and Maxim couldn't be any more different from one another, but they do end up crossing paths one day, and their attraction to one another is instant, but they can't act on it right away because there is an age gap. And so you follow them throughout the span of some time, and you really get to see the type of people that they grow into. You get to see what career paths they go down and how all of these elements, when it comes to their families, their backgrounds, their careers, impacts them and their ability to have a relationship. So this is a duology. This is the first book in the All Kingsmen duology. The second book is called The Rebel King, and that picks up right where we left off in this book. But going back to The Kingmaker, I loved every single thing about this story. I have no notes. I have none, okay? I haven't started The Rebel King yet. I do plan on starting that hopefully today, but I just know that Lennox and Maxim are going to go down as one of my favorite fictional couples of all time, period. This is a couple that you call mythic. No matter where they are in the world, no matter how much time has passed, no matter who they're with or what they're doing, they're always going to find each other. They're always going to have this pull to one another. And I love stories like that where the two characters are essentially soulmates. Like, you just know that there's no other way that this can end, that they have to be together. And so I already stan them, but I just know when I finish The Rebel King, they're definitely going to be my top 5 favorite couples of all time, because the ways in which they show that they care about each other and that they actually see the other person for who they are is just incredible. Despite all of this noise and despite all of the stuff going on surrounding them, they bring out the best in one another, and I think that they're a great match. I love that Lennox challenges everybody and she always stands up for herself, and that also applies to Maxim. But I also like the fact that Maxim respects that. He respects Lennox, but he also lets her know, like, okay, look, but you also not going to talk to me like that though either. And they have a mutual understanding, you know, like they have a mutual understanding. And so I like when I'm reading romance books and you can tell that like it's an equal partnership between the two. Obviously, like I said, there's external circumstances that will contradict that, but in terms of their relationship, there's not one person that wears the pants or that leads the other. They both have their own minds, they both have their own goals and ambitions, and they both respect the other. I also love the fact that Kennedy Ryan takes her time and goes above and beyond to do research, but she does list out her sources and folks that she's talked to about indigenous culture and really making sure that she got it right. I really like the fact that she listed out those sources and she explained who she spoke to about this and who she allowed to read this book before it was even published, to make sure that Lennox's character was handled with care. And so I have no choice once again but to stan Miss Ryan. You can tell that she was definitely a journalism girly because her research is just unmatched. And then of course I had to call out the smut, because the smut in here, fantastic, okay? Like, listen, Lennox and Maxim, these two, the chemistry is undeniable. It is off the charts, and I am rooting for these two so badly. And I bought into their romance pretty early on. I will say in the very, very beginning, when we find out that these two have an age gap, I did get the ick a little bit, and I did kind of side-eye the book for a second. I just don't personally gravitate towards age gap romances. That's just like not really my thing. I don't think that's a subgenre or a trope within romance that I'll ever fully explore, just because it makes me feel a little bit uncomfortable. That's all I'm saying. And here it did make me a little bit uncomfortable, but as the story progresses, there are time jumps, so it does make the age gap less glaring. But in the beginning, I was a little nervous. I'm not even gonna hold y'all, but as you can see, it wasn't that off-putting to me, and I was able to get through it because I gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars, and I don't regret it. So yes, another Kennedy Ryan book that I have crossed off in my TBR list and that has gotten a 5-star. All right, y'all, so those are all of the books that I read for the month of January. It wasn't even that many, but I felt like I've been talking for years. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Definitely make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps me and my channel out. And lastly, please make sure you follow me on Bookstagram as well as Storygraph. I will leave all of that information linked down below, as well as at the end of the video. And now at the beginning of the video, like I always do, I will see you guys in my next video.